Hi, welcome to City Scene with Mayor Mike Cahill. I'm your host, Walt Kosmowski. Your Honor, welcome to the studio. Good to see you.
Great to see you.
Yeah, and Mike has brought some guests with him today. We have Irina O'Keefe, who is the Director of Sustainability for the City of Beverly. Welcome, Irina.
Thank you.
And Marlena, right? Patton.
Patton like the general. Yeah.
Patton like the general. And you are with Mass Power Choice. And if our audience hasn't figured out by now, we're going to be talking about the electrical supplying the citizens of Beverly with their electricity through National Grid, and the city has come up with a special program to lower your rates, and we're going to talk about that. And Mike, maybe you want to introduce the topic for our viewers and kind of give us an overview, and then we'll go into the more of the detail.
Sure. So community electrical aggregation is a program that's been around under state statute for close to 20 years. About half the communities in the state participate. And what happens is the community applies to the State Department of Public Utilities. Once approved, we work with consultant team, which is Marlena and her company, and they know the market, they know the business, and they know how this works. And so the goal is to actually use the buying power of the community, meaning all of us as ratepayers, residential ratepayers, a lot of smaller business ratepayers as well, use our buying power to ensure that a greater percentage of the electricity that is supplied to the ratepayers in Beverly uses clean energy. And it's important to us, it's certainly been important to me from the first time we started talking about this, probably 3.5 years ago, that our ratepayers need to do as well or better on their pricing as they do currently as grid basic rate payers. So what happened was our city council and me and my administrative team and our volunteer clean energy advisory committee worked to understand the program for probably about a year. And then we, after researching and understanding how it works, we passed a resolution in front of the city council in June of 2020 to actually apply to the state to try to become an aggregation community. Pursuant to that, we then hired on the team. It's Peregrine, right?
Peregrine and Mass Power Choice. It's one and the same.
And so Marlena's company, we hired them on because they had to help us go through the process. We applied to the state DPU in February of 2021 after undergoing some public educational process to help people understand what we were about to do. And then we waited almost 3 years for the state to act on our application, which was frustrating, but eventually, finally, with a new administration at the state level, they ruled late last calendar year on our application and a whole slew of other communities. So that gave us the green light to go ahead and get started.
Right. Yeah. And of course that hiatus there, that was the COVID era, right? So a lot of things happening in the business and
a lot of things in the power world of electricity. Yes.
Yeah. So, Irina, I'm gonna ask you to kind of get a little more granular here on what Mike was mentioning. So, it's called Beverly Community Electric for obvious reasons. And now, Mike, you mentioned that this has been it's been an option to cities for about 20 years or so. So, why did we wait till just a few years ago to see if we wanted to apply?
Well, Irina hadn't quite started working here yet when we started the process, so I'll answer that. I mean, it's an educational process. Yeah. Our Clean Energy Advisory Committee, I would say, give them the credit of really bringing the idea forward and getting us all to where we agreed to look into it and really educate ourselves as to what it meant and how it could work.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it started, was in 1997 when the option was available to communities, and I'm not sure it was always considered to be green municipal aggregation. Can you talk to that a little bit, Marlena?
Yeah, the first aggregations were really, and the majority of the state at the beginning was focused on just trying to get a more competitive price. I would say green aggregations, meaning an aggregation that uses the buying power of the community to not just buy electricity, but to buy more from renewable sources. That's a green aggregation. That's really taken off a lot in the past 3 to 5 years.
Yeah. Now, and of course, an aggregator is just simply someone who buys in bulk, right? It's like when you see a widget that costs you $9.95. If you buy one, if you buy 10 widgets, it goes down to $9.75, and so on and so forth. So we're aggregated. Then the city is with all these other 170. I think I read cities and towns. About half the cities and towns in the state.
We're not together with them, though. But Marlena can best explain that, I think.
Yeah, so each individual community has an aggregation, meaning you're aggregating the electricity use of all the people in the city.
Yeah.
And then another community will do the same thing, and then you get pricing that's unique to that community.
Okay, so it's not that what is the name of the company that we were talking about? Power.
First Point Power.
Yeah, so they're not aggregating Beverly and a lot of other towns. So we're just aggregated as the city of Beverly as an entity. So we're not.
So pretty much all residential plans, unless they already went with somebody on their own.
Right.
So residential ratepayers are mostly on the National Grid basic rate, and a goodly percentage of our businesses as well, right, Marlena?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it might just help to back up a minute and explain that when the city aggregates all the electricity requirements for the community, the next step is to sign a contract with a company called an electricity supplier. So that's what First Point Power is, the company that Irina and you were just mentioning. So they're an electricity supply company, so they're going out and buying electricity, putting it on the grid for Beverly residents and businesses, and that price that they get, that's the one that Beverly gets.
Right.
That's special for Beverly.
Okay.
Yep.
So they're the supplier or the buyer of electricity.
You got it.
And then the price that they negotiate that gets passed on to anybody in Beverly.
You got it.
Yeah.
You got it. And then the folks that are eligible for automatic enrollment in the program are the folks that are on National Grid's basic service. So that's what the mayor was just saying, is most of the electricity customers in Beverly are on basic service. Residential and certainly a lot of small business customers are going to be on basic service. So those are the ones that are really who this program is developed for.
Now, what other services besides the basic you just mentioned does National Grid offer? What others?
Well, so that's just the name of the service that you have when National Grid is serving as your electricity supplier. When you don't have a contract or you're not participating in a program like Beverly Community Electric. So there's really 3 ways you can buy electricity as a consumer in Massachusetts.
Yeah.
National Grid can buy it for you. They can be your electricity supplier in addition to delivering it.
Which is most of Beverly now.
And that's called basic service. It's most of Beverly now. You got it. Or you can sign a private contract with an electricity supplier.
Right.
Or you can participate in a program like Beverly Community Electric where your municipality signs the contract
Right.
and you get to benefit from it.
Okay, right. And I think, speaking for myself, and I'm sure that other Beverly residents have gotten mailings and maybe even phone calls from these other types of companies that say, hey, I can supply you a cheaper price and whatever. So they're doing their marketing and they're doing their promotions to try to get people to, while I'm saying that, so Irina, tell us, anybody that's on the basic plan will get notification that they're on, but people who have negotiated or have signed up with other aggregators, if you will, or other suppliers, they can stay with who they have now, or they can opt to join the Beverly Community Electric, right? Is that correct?
Yes. So the Beverly Community Electric's open to anybody, pretty much anybody, except for the really large industrial customers are treated a little differently. It's open to anyone, but for those who are on and have a separate contract, they're really going to have to read their fine print closely. There's often, exit terms from those other contracts and fees or penalties for leaving early. So as long as they can read their own fine print, they're welcome to join the program. And then the city's program doesn't have that same level of, penalty. You can leave at any time.
Right.
There's no fee for leaving. You can leave and come back if you want, or join later. So it's always going to be open and available.
All right. So we're sitting here. What's today? The 27th.
28th.
28th, right? 28th of February. And so tell us, Irina, what the city is doing. So the city is sending out a mailer to all its residents, or all the residents that are under the basic National Grid.
Can we just take one step back? The reason we're sending out a mailer now is once we were approved by the state, under the leadership of Marlena's company, we went out and we invited bids.
Right.
Right, and so it was a bid process, and we looked at and we selected from among several bids what we thought was most advantageous for the people of Beverly, and a term of time that we thought was most advantageous.
Okay.
So and Irina can now kind of walk you through the rest, but what's going out to people now is it's important that everybody understand what we've done, because we now have a locked-in rate for 20 months starting May 1st.
Right.
Whereas if they stayed on basic service, there typically are a couple of rates a year that National Grid
Right. They can
gets approved by the state, and so things
Right.
change every 6 months or
Right.
so. So
Yeah.
now's the educational piece that's really important.
Yeah.
And you touched on a point I wanted to make sure that we address too, which is that, the reason we're able to get pricing that's strong in this case for this contract is because National Grid is limited as to when they can go and secure their own pricing. They just
Right.
do it twice a year.
Right.
And we had a little bit more flexibility in terms of when we entered into a contract.
So it's a 20-month, the people that sign on or are in the program now, their rate is guaranteed for 20 months, is that?
That's correct.
But then it can go up or down, right?
Well, then we'll do the same process again, and we'll issue a bid for, or we'll seek additional bids.
Oh,
for
so
new
you won't
contracts.
necessarily stay with the current aggregate or the current supplier, right?
Maybe we'll see who has the best price and the
But
best
there's an
options.
option to go either way, right?
Yeah.
Okay, all right. So tell us about the people in the community will be getting a communication from the city with the city's logo on it. So if you get another solicitation that doesn't have the city logo on it, it's not part of the Beverly Community Electric program, right?
Yeah,
So,
well, you're on top of it.
yeah, all right.
So residents and business owners that have basic service will have already received a postcard
Mm-hmm.
that just says, "Hey, check your mail in the next week. We're going to be sending this letter that contains all the information, all the program details, and does say check and make sure that this mailer has a city seal."
Right.
So that'll confirm that it's from us.
Right. Now, do the people that get this letter, will they have to do anything, check off a box or send you or do something, or are they automatically enrolled and they'll be unenrolled if they have to put up their hand and do something to unenroll, right? Is that correct?
Yeah, so if they get the mailer, they have a few options. They can do absolutely nothing, and they'll be rolled into the standard product, which is one that is currently about 20 cents cheaper than National Grid's
Right.
price.
Right.
And they will have 10% more renewable electricity. That's the standard offering.
Okay.
Then they can either choose to, what we've been saying is opt up to a 100% clean product. So that's the one where you say, oh, I want all my electricity to come from clean and renewable sources of energy. That comes at a little cost premium, still a little bit cheaper than National Grid service. Or they can say, oh, I don't care, I don't want more renewable electricity, I'm going to opt down to the basic product. So there's 3 choices as part of the program.
Right. And in
Or
fact-
they can leave altogether and say, I love National Grid, I'm sure we hear that all the time, and want to exit the Beverly Community Electric program.
I'm going to ask Chris in our control room to put up the slide that shows the 4 options that you just talked about, Irina. So let's take a look at that, and maybe either you or Marlena can talk to that. And okay, there we go. So
if you do nothing, you'll be in that dark blue bubble on the left there. That's the default standard
Okay,
product.
right, uh-huh.
And then you can take some action. You can fill out a form online or call the help number to enter into one of the other 2 products in the program. Or you can send in the opt-out notice that'll be coming by mail to you to stick with National Grid.
right, and we'll talk about that in a little bit. But if you look at what it costs per kilowatt there, you can see the National Grid is it's the 18.2 whatever, and I can verify. I have my own last month's bill from National Grid, and it's right there. It's that exact number, and I think on a percentage, if you go with the default, you're saving about 5 cents over 18 cents. So that's roughly you're saving about 30%, right, of what National Grid would charge you. Correct?
So Walt, if I could say a couple things here, right? This program, because of the way the state law is written, it's an opt-out program.
Yep.
So people are in it unless they say they don't want to be, which is why we're doing a lot of education to try to help people understand. And if they decide they don't want to be part of a locked-in rate for 20 months, then they can step out. The other piece of it is we can't guarantee that ratepayers will save money over the 20 months as against several different grid rates that are going to be every 6 months or so.
Right.
But generally, over the course of time, through the history of the program, the locked-in longer rates tend to save people money.
Right.
And we've worked really hard to try to make sure that, in looking at the bids we got in looking at the length of time to lock in for, the amount of additional clean energy to add into that first rate, try to make sure that, even if people may look at a 6-month rate and pay a little more next rate, they're paying significantly less the first 3 months of this new rate. The goal is that over the 20 months, they'll pay less.
They'll pay less, right,
And people should pay attention to that and track it, right?
Yeah,
It'll matter to a lot of folks. You pointed out that 13.9 cents is what they'll be in if they do nothing, just let it start on May 1, versus 18.23 cents per kilowatt hour for May, June, and July, before Grid's next rate will take effect, their next
Right.
basic rate.
Right.
So that's why the educational piece is so important under the law and also to us. We want to make sure people fully understand,
Right.
And we do think and certainly hope, but we have a certain degree of confidence, but some of it is forecasting, right?
right.
So it's really important that people pay attention
Right.
as we move through this.
Right. Well, I'm glad, Mike, that you clarified that. Thank you. Thank you very much. And of course, people can opt out at any time if they get cold feet or if they think, oh God, National Grid's going to really lower the rate. They can always opt out, right?
Anytime, no
they want.
penalty.
No penalty. So that's always an option that people have. As far as clean energy, clean electricity, does National Grid keep like clean energy that's like I have solar panels on my house, and I send if I'm overproducing what I'm using, I send it to the grid, and that's tagged by National Grid that this was clean energy as opposed to something that was made in a hydro plant, and that's that other option we talked about just comes from that bucket of electricity. Is that correct?
Yes,
Okay.
yes. So through the program, as Arena said, you have the option to get more of your electricity from those clean sources. So that's what it means, is that instead of buying electricity from sources that are traditional fossil fuel-based sources, the electricity you're buying is coming from renewable clean sources like your solar panels. It's exactly what it means.
Okay.
It's all getting put onto the grid and commingled.
Yeah.
So it's not like your solar panels are going to get plugged into someone else's house. But it's really like, what's the electricity that's being put on the grid on your behalf?
Right. Okay. And now this program will start in May, is that correct? So that the first bill that people in Beverly that will be in the program, their June bill will reflect whatever choice they've made, correct? Is that
That's right. And we're here now at the end of February and will be visible over the next month because that's when the opt-out period, the period where everyone can review their choices before they get automatically enrolled into the program, comes into effect now over the next month.
Yeah. And now you're having, we talked about educating people and so forth. You're going to have a public hearing, although it's going to be a Zoom hearing, right? Is that correct? In first weekend?
A meeting, not a hearing, but yes.
Well, I'm sorry, yeah.
There'll be a Zoom meeting and an in-person meeting. We're trying to get BevCam to be part of both of them so they can be rebroadcast.
Well, I'll do whatever I can do to
absolutely.
make that happen.
And Marlene's team has a whole lot of additional opportunities for people to learn about it, right?
Yep. Yeah, we'll be holding office hours. And also we have customer support. The customer support phone number you see on all the materials, that's us. So you just give us a call and a live person picks up the phone. We don't have a big phone tree, so we're very accessible for answering questions.
Okay. Now, when you say people can come in and talk to you, do you have an office in City Hall, or where are you physically located?
We're going to have office hours in City Hall.
In City Hall,
Yep.
so people can, all right.
Yep.
And so there'll be this, now do people have to sign up for that Zoom meeting? Or
They
can
don't
just-
have to register in advance. They
No,
just
you
have to
just
click
get the
Zoom button.
URL to log in, and then you're in, right? And then you're going to have a live session, in-person session at the Beverly Council on Aging.
That's correct.
And what's the date on that?
March 15th at noon.
March 15th at noon. Okay.
And in addition to the phone number where you can talk to a real human being very quickly and easily, our website also has a ton of information, including a lot of frequently asked questions.
Right.
So, requires a little bit of navigating if you want to roam around and learn more about the program.
Well, I can say that it's a very good website and it does answer a lot of questions because I was on it earlier and I learned a lot. I learned an awful lot just going through all the questions, the frequently asked questions, and all the other things. Now, I want to, if Chris can put up, we have a couple of excerpts of a national grid. It's not a real national grid bill, but I want to make sure people understand the distinction between the supplier of electricity and the deliverer of electricity, right? So in this case, the deliverer will always be National Grid, correct?
National Grid owns all of the wires and all of the poles
Right,
and
they're
all
the
of
deliverer, right.
all the infrastructure.
And in most cases, for the people that live in the city of Beverly, which the supplier is also National Grid. Now we're not changing the deliverer, we're changing the supplier. So if we take a look at the at that National Grid bill there, where it says supply services, instead of saying National Grid, it will say what will it say there? The Beverly Community Electric?
First Point Power, right.
Okay.
Yes. Yep.
And that's the little box there that they're showing.
Yep.
Sorry. So this is for the supply. This is the cost of the product, okay? This is not for the delivery of the product. So less people now this is the other side. This is the delivery service, and this will continue to be National Grid, right? And you get those, like I have on my bill, you get these long list of things there, all these different that add up to the delivery charge, and that will not change, correct?
Yeah, we have no control over those charges. And the delivery services, what we're looking at now is the front of your bill. So the only impact that you're going to see is on that second page.
On the back side of the back side of the bill, yeah. And people can opt out. How early can people opt out? Is there a provision that they will never even be in the program? They can opt out right away?
You can opt out now, actually.
Yeah.
Yep. That notice is going out. The notification about automatic enrollment went in the mail yesterday, so it should be landing soon. So if you get that and you decide you don't want to participate, you can opt out right away. But the ability to opt out is something that persists for the life of the program.
Right.
So you can prevent yourself from being enrolled anytime, absolutely. Right. Or if you want, you can try the program. And if you don't like it, opt out later.
Right. Okay. And what is is it a one-stop process? Is it just pressing, checking a box somewhere on the website, or
close to it? Yeah. We need to know which account you're opting out. So you just need to put in your National Grid account information. Yep.
Okay.
So either you give us a call or you go on the website. Website has self-service forms. So if you don't want to talk to somebody or it's late at night and you can't, you can still do it yourself. You just need your bill, and you'll put in a little bit of information there so we know which account to opt out.
Okay. So
And
just to be
that ease of enrollment and leaving the program is something that's really specific to this program.
Mm-hmm.
Folks that are on a competitive supply, often they'll enter into a contract thinking that they get this low rate, but then you read the fine print and it's actually an introductory 3-month rate that spikes after you stop paying attention. So with this program, you know that you have the protection of the 20-month contract, and you know that you can leave anytime.
Well, that's called bait and switch, which you just described. The low introductory.
And I get those mailers all the time. They're aggressive here.
Yeah. So just to be clear, you've already got the information from National. So you've called out anybody who, on their own, have decided to go with a different supplier, and they've got their. So the mailing will only go out to those people who can actually participate in the program.
Well, and just to clarify, so National Grid provides the information, and they don't even provide the account information for somebody who's not eligible for automatic enrollment. So we don't even have access to that information.
Right,
So,
okay.
But just to be clear, what we're talking about is those who are eligible for automatic enrollment. Those who have private supply contracts are eligible to participate. It's just that they have to take a step to do it.
Right. In other words, they won't get the letter,
Yep.
and with the automatic, you're enrolled starting in May. They would have to actually. Now,
they have to deal with who they're contracted
Right,
with
they have to
already,
see-
and they could pay a penalty for switching.
That's
over.
correct,
So
right. Yeah,
they've got
thank
their
you
own
for-
set of issues to
Right.
look at.
Yeah, thank you for mentioning that, Mike. Yeah, because in most cases they would probably have to pay some kind of penalty to get out of out of
Or,
that program.
or they could wait till their current contract with that other
Absolutely.
supplier ends, and if this is still within its 20 months, they could then come in at any time.
Yep, they absolutely. Like I personally am in a supply contract that I signed previously, and I can wait. I've got another month or so on that. Wait, and then I'll still get the program price when I enroll. So yeah.
And Irina, I just want to ask you, you're the director of sustainability for the city, so this is your stuff. This is what you're responsible. Now, how does this particular program coincide with the goals that you have for the sustainability and greening of the city?
Sure. And it was actually, you mentioned that the project was initiated before I started. And this, working with Marlena, this is one of the first programs that I worked on with the city when I started a couple years ago. So excited to finally see it come to fruition. So with the standard option that the vast majority of our community members are going to be opted into, we'll have everybody in the community having 10% more renewable energy than what they're currently using in the basic service supply.
Right.
Our goal through our Resilient Together Climate Action and Resilience Plan from 2021 was really to try to get our community electricity to a clean renewable source by 2040. And now by offering this program and starting with a renewable energy content of, what is it now? Doing all the math, probably 72% clean in our defaults.
If you include the extra 10%, yeah, 72%.
Yeah. So including what's already required by the state, we're making huge progress in the year 2024.
Yeah.
And we hope that anyone who is able to and wants to go even cleaner, even greener, and go with that 100% option, 100% clean option, will take us, nudge us toward our goals. In total, we've learned that the impact of the program for this contract, it's like having a 7.5 megawatt solar array that's being committed to by the community members.
Yeah.
If I could add to that, well, as we look at the world moving to electrify how we power things, right? How we move around, how we light and heat and cool buildings, that's all been powered with fossil fuels. Fossil fuels,
We know
200 years. So we're electrifying. That's really the move that's going on worldwide. But the electricity, if the electricity that's providing, that's powering it isn't clean, it doesn't matter. So this helps to clean that electricity. It helps to remove oil, natural gas from being how the electricity gets generated, and switch that over to clean sources.
Yeah. Okay. Very good. And I do want to clarify. There's a lot of households, residents in Beverly that do have solar panels. I'm one of them. I don't know. Do you have a statistic on how many households have solar panels? Well, but anyway, the point I want to make is that they can take part in this program as well. The fact that they have solar panels doesn't make any difference in this kind of program, right?
Yeah, that's correct.
Yeah, exactly. Yep. Okay. Well, I think we've come to the end of our allotted time. I want to thank you folks for explaining this. Mayor Cahill, any last comments?
Just we're excited at the process, and please, any questions at all, any concerns, because it's a change, please reach out to us, reach out to Marlena's team as well.
Very good. Thank you very much, folks. And I'd like to remind our viewers that you have been watching City Scene with Mayor Mike Cahill. I'm your host, Walt Kosmowski. We'll see you next time.